Hello everyone. Today we are going to start with the next method of the sampling, that is the non-random sampling. In this, various restricted sampling methods and other non-random sampling methods will be included. Among that, the first one is the purposive or deliberate sampling, which is also known as judgment sampling. And from the name itself, it is clear that judgment sampling may include the judgment of the investigator. So, this is the method in which the investigator himself makes the choice of sample items which are the best representative of the universe in his opinion, that is, according to his judgment, whatever items he thinks is the best representative of the universe will be taken as the sample items by the investigator. When some items in the universe are of special significance, this type of sampling method is used, and in this method the personal judgment of the investigator is also involved. So let's take an example. If we want to conduct a survey related to the users of the social networking sites, and as we know that Facebook is the most used app by the users of various social networking sites, so I will purposely take that Facebook users in my study. Similarly, if we talk about some survey related to the cosmetic items of a particular brand, and I want to make a survey of 10,000 women who are using that particular brand. So from that 10,000 units, I have to make out a sample of 1,000 items. So while choosing those 1,000 items, my judgment will be involved, as I will look through that who are using that brand on a regular basis. So I would like to add those women in my sample which will best represent the universe, or which are the best representative of the universe of which I have to make my study. So this is the purposive or deliberate sampling, and this method of sampling is flexible enough to allow the inclusion of those items in the sample which are of special significance. Therefore, we can select the items or samples according to our purpose of study in this kind of sampling. The next method of sampling is the stratified or mixed sampling. Now, stratified sampling includes a term that is stratas, which means groups. So, according to this method, the population is divided into different strata or groups having different characteristics. So, we will take a population of which we have to make the statistical study, and from that population we will make certain groups or stratas which will be having different characteristics, and some of the items are selected from each strata or group to represent entire population, and these stratas can be made out on the basis of the occupation, economic structure, social structure, on the basis of the religion, etc. These can be the basis on which the groups or stratas can be made. Now, the stratified sampling is also known as mixed sampling because it is a mixture of purposive sampling and random sampling. Because firstly, according to the purpose of study, we will make the various groups or stratas. Then from those stratas, we will randomly select the samples from each group. Therefore, it is also known as mixed sampling. Now here we will take an example. Suppose there are total students in grade 11. Total students in grade 11 are 50, and that will be population for me because I have to base my study on this population. Now what I will do, I will divide, the population over here must be 200. The population, that is the total students in grade 11th, is 200, which will be population, and from these grade 11 students I will divide them into stratas or groups based on their streams, that is commerce, humanities, medical and non-medical. So in commerce there are total students of 60, in humanities 30, medical 60 and non-medical 50. That is, I have divided the whole population of 200 students into the stratas based on their streams. So in the commerce stream there are 60 students, in humanities there are 30, in medical 60, and in non-medical 50. Now we are done with the second step, that is of making the stratas. Now after that what we have to do, we have to take out the samples from these stratas for our study. So from commerce I will take 6 students out of 60, from humanities I will take out 3 students out of 30, in medical I will take out 6 students out of 60, and in non-medical I will take out 5 students out of 50. So according to my purpose, I have made the stratas or the groups, and from those stratas I have done the random sampling of choosing the proportionate samples from the given strata. So this was the stratified sampling. The next type of sampling is the systematic sampling or the quasi-random sampling. Now this method is also known as quasi-random because the random sampling is also involved in some steps in this kind of sampling. So in this sampling, the units of the population are numerically, geographically and alphabetically arranged. So firstly what we will do, we will firstly arrange the given population either on the basis of the numerical, geographical areas or alphabetically. Then what we will do, we will select every nth item of the numbered items from as a sample. And systematic sampling is also known as the shortcut method. Now how it is a shortcut method and how the items are selected, you will come to know from the given example. Suppose there is a population of total 1000 items and we need to take out a sample of 100 items. So firstly what we will do, we will arrange the given population either on the basis of the numbers or alphabetically. Then suppose firstly I will randomly select the 50th item of the universe or the population. Suppose I arrange the items in serial number 1, 2, 3, 4 and along with that I have written the names of the items of the population. So firstly I have selected randomly the 50th item of the universe. Now after that, when firstly randomly I selected this item, then my further items will be based on nth item, that is the next 50th item will be 100th item, then 150th, then 200th, then 250th item. Like this the samples are selected from the given population according to our purpose of study. Firstly we will randomly select a given item. After that a further selection will be based on the serial number, that is the 50th item, then I will select the 100th, then 150th. Similarly you may choose out like 25th item firstly, then after that the second item will be 50th item, after that 75th item, that is the difference of 25 will be maintained, and the further samples will be taken out according to the first randomly selected item. So this was the systematic sampling, and a thing to be noticed here is that in this type of sampling every item in the population does not get equal chance of selected because only the first item is selected on the basis of random sampling. Further the selection of the items is based on the first item selected, and therefore this method is also known as quasi-random sampling. So like this we will go on selecting up to the 950th item so that 100 samples may be taken out, and even if these your samples are not yet completed, you can again start the process from the 25th item, then 75th item. Like this you can make out your 100 samples out of the given population. Now the next method of sampling is the quota sampling. Now in this method we will make certain quotas according to the purpose of our study. Firstly, the population is divided into different groups or classes on the basis of different characteristics of the population. What we will do, we will firstly divide the population into certain groups according to the characteristics of the population, and this is also a non-random sample. Now let's take an example which will make it more clear to you. Suppose a statistical study is required to include 600 people. That means we have to make a statistical study of the population size of 600 units. But the requirement is that, which is fixed by the investigator, that the study which you are going to make of 600 units, out of those 600 units, 300 must be women among that. That means a quota has been fixed by the investigator that out of these 600 people, 300 must be women, and your study must be based on this, because of which this method is known as the quota sampling method. Similarly, we can take another example. Suppose I need to make a survey about the eating habits of the students of a particular school, of certain schools. Suppose I'm considering 10 schools in my study, but my investigator said that investigator wants to include one public school, boys, two public school, girls. Then they want to take two senior secondary schools. So what is this? This is the quota set by the investigator that I have to include one public school of boys, two public school of girls, and two senior secondary schools in my study, and I have to base my study on these quotas selected. So this is the quota sampling, in which quotas are made by quotas are fixed by the investigator. The next one is the convenience sampling. Now this is the method of sampling which is done according to the convenience of the investigator, and it includes samples who are easy to reach. That is, in this method of sampling, the investigator will base his study according to his convenience. Suppose an investigator wants to collect data about the consumption expenditure of certain people. Now according to his convenience, what he will do, he will make contact with the people living in his neighborhood. So he will collect the data from them and will base his study on the results or on the answers given by them. So this is the convenience sampling. You can take another example. Suppose an investigator wants to collect data about the eating habits of a certain school. What he will do, the school which will be in his neighborhood, he will collect the data from that school only and will base his study according to the data collected by from that school. So this is the convenience sampling, in which the sampling is done according to the convenience of the investigator. And the last method of sampling is the cluster or multi-state sampling. Now in this sampling method, the population is divided and subdivided according to its characteristics. Then this method is carried out in a number of stages, because of which it is known as the multi-state sampling. Let's take an example which will make it more clear to you. Suppose a survey in a country is to be conducted. So firstly, what the investigator will do, they will divide the country into various zones, states or regions. After that, those zones, states or regions will be further divided into cities, towns and villages. Then further, these cities, towns and villages will be divided into localities or households. And at each stage, that is firstly from zones, states or regions, sample will be taken. Then from cities, towns or villages, samples will be taken. And then from localities or households, the sample will be taken. And our conclusions will be based on those samples taken from each stage or each cluster. These are the clusters in which the country has been divided, and then the samples will be taken out from these clusters. Like for example, like in India, the country is divided into various states. So 4 or 5 states will be taken out as the sample. Then from those states, the samples will be taken out. After that, from certain cities, towns or villages, the samples will be taken out. Then further some households will be taken as the samples. So like this, the sampling will be done and the conclusions will be based on these samples. So this was all about the methods of the sampling or the non-random sampling methods. In the previous video, we have studied about the random sampling. Those who have not gone through the random sampling, please go through it also. And in this video, we have studied about the non-random sampling. So this was all about our today's video. Tomorrow we will study about the difference between the census method and the sample method, and we will come to know about which method is better than the other one. Thank you so much.